The exact day when Donald Trump launched his Memecoin, the market peaked. Since then, we went down. But now things seem to be turning around. The Trump token is going up. There is now utility added to the token. There's the official dinner for the top holders. Now the question is, will this also have a longer term impact? Let's have a look at the data most people are not considering. So here we are today at $15.49. We are up 85% this week. And with that, official Trump is the second best performing cryptocurrency among the top 100. Only virtual protocol performed better. I've published a video on virtuals recently, so feel free to check that out. Now, crypto is all about being early. It's trying to be informed better than the average market participant because in the end, profit concentrates towards a few players. Most people tend to lose. And the same was true for the Trump token. If you bought it within 24 hours after launch, you made a lot of money. If you bought it afterwards, you tended to lose. And so here is how to be among the early winners. We just look at other winners and we check what are they buying. For example, across the Rubicon bought the Trump token at only $3, just a few minutes after launch. We also have Crypto King. He bought it for a bit under $4. We've got Greeny Trades. He bought it for exactly $4, etc. We want to look at the people that get into tokens early before the masses. And so that's the beauty of crypto. We don't have that in traditional finance. In crypto, if we look deeply enough into the data, we can get a market edge. Now, subsequently, I've also published a video on Trump. This was my very first Trump video published 102 days ago. It outperformed the average video massively. That was when we were at $13. And of course, the rest is history. We saw a massive rally subsequently. Now, there's been a massive shift in the holdings of the Trump token. At the beginning, the token was just launched on the Solana chain, and so this is where most trading volume happened. After a while, the market makers and the centralized exchanges took over a lot of the supply. Now, on chain, we still have more than 600,000 wallets that hold the Trump token. And there's still a lot of liquidity, more than 400 million worth. Trump is the biggest token on chain, followed by Fartcoin, which is only 1/20th of the size. Now, we've seen this recent recovery in the price, and we know about the news. We've covered this in this channel as well. The question is, who's currently buying? Who's now driving up the price even further? Because if it's mainly the big money, if it's mainly the whales, that could be a positive sign. In the end, the whales, the people that have most money, they also tend to make the right calls over time. Crypto is a game of both luck and skill. And so the more the game is played, the more the money will flow towards the people that are most skilled. So the heavyweights, they tend to be better traders. With this price appreciation, we have seen new wallets entering the token. The number of first-time traders went up sharply. So did the number of token transactions over time. But have a look at the number of retail investors versus whale investors over time. The way we make this distinction is by looking at minimum holding thresholds. So a wallet has to hold at least X amount of tokens in order to be counted in a chart. So to be counted for the chart on the left, a wallet has to hold at least 100 Trump tokens. So at the current price, that's $1,500. That's what I'd consider retail. Retail bought in the first hours and then afterwards transferred the tokens to the centralized exchanges. And we see that in the last days, the retail investors actually did not buy Trump on chain. For medium-sized retail, so that's now 100 Trump tokens or $15,000 worth of the token, we do see a bit of accumulation in the last few days. For the whales, so that's now 10,000 tokens or $150,000 worth of the token, we do see clear accumulation. So there were people with heavy pockets that bought the token potentially for the event or potentially because now it becomes clear that the Trump token is more than just a joke. And so that's exactly what we want to see, right? We want to see the smart money, the heavyweights buying into a token. That's potentially a sign that the token can continue to outperform. Now, what is also important to note is at what point did the number of whale wallets not decline anymore? Because that's when the centralized exchanges and the market makers build up their position. It's roughly at the beginning to middle of February of this year. So around this price mark. This is now Trump relative to Sol. And many centralized exchanges are probably still in losses. Once the market makers hit their entry price again, maybe after a rally of another 20% or so relative to Solana, we are probably going to see another at least temporary dump. But this of course also all depends on the perpetual futures. It depends on where retail is currently betting. If retail bets on falling prices, then the market makers just buy up more of the token. If retail is very bullish on the token, then we will see the dump. Now here is why I'm saying that. Have a look at the open interest funding rate. When this is very negative, that means that the shorts have to pay the longs. That means that the market in aggregate thinks Trump will go down. On the 18th of April, Trump was only at $7.55. Now, why did the market bet so heavily on falling prices on that day? The reason is this. It's the vesting schedule of Trump. There was a token unlock for the team and people were concerned that insiders will be dumping Trump. But this is where it becomes clear that it's a player versus player game, right? If enough people bet on falling prices, then the market makers just buy up the token, pushing the price up. And so sometimes the very first explanation, an expanding supply, isn't sufficient. It's important to also look at what the derivative market is doing. And if a short position is popular enough, that is a sign of a potentially rising price. Just have a look at how many shorts got liquidated during that Trump rally. Most people were very skeptical about the price appreciation. Since the change in holders on chain isn't really that large anymore, except for a few whales. It is mainly the open interest. It is mainly the perpetual futures market that's driving the price. So the open interest is here in green and the Trump price is in yellow. And we can see how closely those lines are correlated. It is very interesting how the Trump coin got launched. It got launched during Asia trading hours. And so actually most people that made money with Trump are based in Asia, not in America or in Europe. By the time America was awake, all the insiders already bought into the token. Have a look at the cumulative return by trading session. The APAC region made all the gains at the beginning of the Trump launch. Europe net also lost, but the most losses happened in the US. The average US investor is down 76%. But again, it's probably more accurate to say that this was rather a transfer from the not so skilled crypto people to the more skilled ones, right? The people that tend to make profit in crypto, they saw Trump earlier than most others. And this channel here is proof. Or this video. When many people bet on falling prices and the market makers push up the price in order to get the liquidation fees, what we usually see is very fast price appreciations. So those are short squeezes. If we time this right, we can make money from deflating short squeezes. So have a look at this. This is where I shared my trade. I'm opening a Trump short after the short squeeze. So this was just a few hours after the announcement of the dinner. And if you then close this early enough and you have proper leverage and proper risk management, you can make good gains for this. So this is when I close the position. Now, it appears as if everything is going up in this market, but it's not as easy. It's still in the end a player versus player game, and a lot of people got wrecked before this rally. The top performing crypto categories right now are Politify, but also picking up now Solana memes and AI agents, all the kind of tokens that did very well just a few months ago. Now, especially with the smaller altcoins, it's not a fair game. It's player versus player, but it's also insiders versus the public. The public doesn't know as much as the insiders, and so on average, the average retail investor does lose money. It's really a rather mixed picture. Have a look at this. This is Solana's trending tokens. There's some green, there's some red, but in the end, even during the Memecoin hype in the last few months, Bitcoin dominance continued to go up. So clearly, it's not enough to just buy a representative basket of altcoins and hope for those to outperform Bitcoin. If we speculate with altcoins, we have to be somewhat active. Otherwise, we just go with BTC. BTC tends to do better than most altcoins most of the time. Now, very often the market makers and the insiders, they get away with this, right? For example, the Ohm token crashed by more than 90%, a drop of 4.5 billion. Up to this day, we still don't know who profited from this crash. The money is not gone. It's just held by somebody else. Now, what can we do in a situation like this? I think the best approach is to try to be as close as possible to the insiders. And that's the nice thing about the blockchain, right? We can see the official transactions. And if we do a bit of digging, we can find out the wallets of people that move prices. For example, over here, we've got transactions of Kyle Chessy and of other influencers that bought SPX 6900 very, very early. When we found the wallet of an insider, we can get notifications whenever those people buy and sell something. And because of that, I made a video on SPX 6900 in the early days. And that video was not that popular because most people didn't know about the token at the time. But it came out when the price was still at 10 cents. It then made this parabolic run of 1,300% and of course crashed back down with the rest of the market. But I try to be early on this channel. I try to cover tokens that are bought by the insiders that still have upside potential. So feel free to subscribe over here. Now here's another example, Fartcoin. We got purchase notifications at 4 to 5 cents and subsequently there was a 4,000% run, then of course our correction, but still from that signal the price is up almost 2,000%. It's all a player versus player game. The insiders make most money. And the way we get all of those signals is again by finding the wallets of people that influence the prices. So again, with the example of Kyle Chessy, we've got 12 of his wallets. In total, we track more than 419 wallets. We find the wallets through various approaches, the NFTs that they hold, the current holdings that they might make public, related transaction wallets, all kinds of different approaches. There are dedicated tutorial videos on how to find influencer wallets available as well. What you're seeing over here is the paid Telegram channel. So we've got a dedicated chat just on finding new influencer wallets where we then add them to our tracking channel. So that tracking channel is also available, of course, to the premium members. And so the closer we are to the people that move prices, the more we can mimic their performances. So over here, what we see is various trades that have been made by the community. Of course, I'm not sharing the exact tokens that have been traded, but yeah, those are some examples of what is achievable with the right information. So feel free to check it out. It's currently $125 per month. The link is down below. It's thebitcoinstrader.com. You will also see a link to the premium membership now directly popping up on this video. Again, if it's your first time here, feel free to subscribe. A like would be very much appreciated as well. It helps the channel grow. See you next time on YouTube or see you in premium. Cheers.